What if everything you believe to be you is only the echo of something deeper, a reflection so convincing that you forgot the mirror was even there? The identity you carry, the voice in your head that says, "This is me," that voice is not the origin, it is the outcome. It is the final ripple of a vibration that started long before your body took form. You were taught to locate yourself behind your eyes, to believe that the one who sees is the one who is. But look closer. The observer you think you are, the one directing thoughts, making choices, holding memories, has never once been found. Search for it, and what you find is only another thought pretending to be the seeker. The illusion sustains itself by constant movement. Each thought references the next, each memory reinforces the last, creating a chain of identification that feels unbreakable. Yet if you pause, if you stop following the noise, the entire construction begins to flicker. Awareness remains, but the image it used to hold starts to dissolve. The illusion breaks not through effort, but through seeing that there was never anything solid to begin with. The mind loves stories because stories give continuity, and continuity gives comfort. You call that comfort stability, but what it really is confinement. You exist as an ever-shifting field of awareness that the mind tries to cage into a name, a history, a role. It tells you that to survive you must define yourself, but definition is death to what you truly are. The infinite cannot fit inside an outline. The moment you say, "I am this," you stop being everything else. The illusion is not evil. It was the way consciousness learned to experience itself. Through limitation, through focus, through forgetting. You came into form not to be trapped by identity, but to remember what identity hides. When you forget, the dream feels real. When you remember, the dream becomes art. The break begins quietly. One day you notice that your thoughts speak without your permission. Emotions rise and fade like weather in an open sky. You start to sense that the one observing it all is not affected by the storm. You call it detachment, but it is not coldness. It is the recognition that awareness has never been the one suffering. The pain belongs to the narrative, not the observer. And then another realization dawns. Even the observer is part of the story. Even the watcher arises within awareness, not outside it. The one who sees is also seen. At this moment, everything you thought you knew about control begins to unravel. The idea that you are choosing, deciding, steering reality collapses into something vaster. You begin to perceive that the flow was never yours to command. It was you all along as movement itself. Life is not happening to you. You are the happening. The wind does not control the sky. It moves within it. The waves do not choose their direction. They express the ocean's rhythm. Likewise, what you call your life is the field expressing itself through a temporary pattern named you. This is where fear often surfaces, because the illusion fights for survival. The ego's language is urgency. It whispers that if you stop identifying, you will disappear. But what disappears is only the cage, not the consciousness inside it. The more you release, the more real you become. The illusion breaks when you see that even fear is another wave in awareness, rising and falling like everything else. Freedom is not found in controlling thoughts, but in realizing they never belong to you. Look around. Every color you see is a translation your brain creates from vibration. Every sound is pressure in air, turned into meaning by perception. The entire world is being rendered inside you. The field of perception is not happening within the head. The head happens within the field. This realization flips reality inside out. You begin to understand that you were never a small being looking outward into a vast universe. You are the vastness looking inward, dreaming of being small. The illusion maintained itself through forgetfulness, through repetition, through belief in separation. But once awareness becomes aware of itself, separation dissolves. You are not the body that breathes. You are the space that allows breathing. You are not the thoughts moving across the mind. You are the stillness they appear within. You are not even the observer who claims to witness it all. You are the silence before witnessing. When this truth touches you, even lightly, something irreversible happens. You stop trying to fix yourself because you realize nothing was ever broken. You stop chasing purpose because purpose reveals itself as every moment unfolding. The field moves perfectly without instruction. Awareness has no opposite, no border, no name. To break the illusion is not to destroy the world, but to see through its transparency. It was never a prison, it was a mirror. Now, breathe. Let the thought of who you are loosen its grip. Notice the awareness reading these words. Notice that this awareness was here before the words appeared and will remain after they fade. It is not personal. It is not human. It is the same awareness through every being that ever was. To awaken is not to gain something new, but to recognize what never changed. You are not the reflection. You are the light that makes reflection possible. Every mirror hides a secret. It does not show reality, it recreates it. Each reflection you see is light, rearranged into an image that convinces you of form, identity, and continuity. When you stand before a mirror, you do not see yourself. You see photons bouncing off your skin, reaching the surface of glass, and returning to your eyes as a delayed translation of what once was. The mirror is a perfect liar because it never tells you that what you are looking at is already gone. The reflection is always from the past, and yet you call it now. This is the first paradox. You live your entire life looking at echoes and mistaking them for the present. The same is true within. The mind is a mirror made of memory. Every thought you have about who you are is light reflected off your own history. You mistake the reflection for the source, the narrative for the truth. You believe the story in your head is what is happening now, but it is only the afterimage of what awareness once touched. The mirror's power lies in invisibility. You never question it because it seems neutral. It simply shows what stands before it, yet it never reveals the one who sees. If you could step through that surface and turn around, you would not find another you waiting. You would find only space, infinite and formless. The paradox is that the reflection needs you to exist, but you do not need it. You were aware before you ever saw your face. The baby before the mirror does not yet know that the image is itself. When it reaches to touch the reflection, it discovers confusion and wonder. The self-awareness you call maturity begins at that moment of recognition, and from then on you spend your life trying to maintain that image, to keep it safe, consistent, loved. Yet what you are trying to protect is not real. Each morning, you return to the mirror as if visiting an altar. You adjust hair, smooth skin, rehearse expressions. But beneath that ritual is something sacred, a quiet fear that without a reflection, you might disappear. This fear drives every human drama, every search for validation, every effort to be seen. The paradox deepens here. The more you try to confirm your existence through reflection, the further you drift from what truly is. You become dependent on others' eyes to feel real, addicted to feedback from a world that is itself another mirror. You chase your own echo across the surface of consciousness, forgetting that you were the sound that started it. Science meets this mystery with elegant precision. The brain itself is reflective. It takes sensory input and constructs an internal simulation so complete that you mistake it for the external world. What you see is not the thing itself, but the brain's best guess about it. Perception is the ultimate mirror, one that never stops reflecting its own assumptions. Even the feeling of being a separate observer is a reflection the system produces to keep the story coherent. Yet no neuron can find the observer. Awareness cannot be dissected. It is not inside the head. The head itself appears inside awareness. To see through the mirror paradox is not to reject reflection, but to understand its nature. The image is real only as expression, not as identity. You can admire the reflection without confusing it for the essence. When awareness recognizes its own reflection, the spell begins to dissolve. You start to perceive how every person, every situation, every emotion is a mirror showing you back to yourself. The anger you feel, the love you crave, the admiration you give, are all signals pointing toward the forgotten truth that there is only one awareness playing all roles. The paradox is beautiful. You appear separate only to discover unity. You appear in a body so you can realize you are the space it moves through. The reflection exists so the light can see itself. You are not the face behind the glass. You are the clear surface that allows every image to appear. When you realize this, judgment softens. You stop trying to correct the reflection and start tending to the light source. You stop fighting shadows and start understanding that without them you would never perceive depth. In the ancient teachings, the mirror was a symbol of pure mind, empty and luminous. The dust of thought settles on it, obscuring the clarity, but the mirror itself is never stained. Wipe away the dust, and it reflects without distortion. You do not need to polish it endlessly. You only need to stop identifying with the dust. Awareness is self-cleaning once attention returns home. Every time you become aware that you are aware, a layer of illusion dissolves. Look closely at your reflection again. The eyes staring back are not seeing you, they are seen by you. The body you identify with is another image appearing within perception. Even your emotions and thoughts, no matter how intense, are ripples across the surface. They rise, shimmer, and fade. What remains is stillness, unchanging, eternal. This stillness is not distant or abstract. It is the quiet pulse inside every breath, the presence behind every sound. It is the same essence reflected through all beings. The paradox ends when you no longer seat yourself in the mirror. You can look, admire, even play with the reflections, but you know they are not the source. This recognition does not make life dull, it makes it radiant. When you stop mistaking the image for reality, every reflection becomes a revelation. You begin to see the divine symmetry in everything. The laughter, the pain, the fleeting beauty of impermanence all shimmer as expressions of the same light. Breaking the illusion was the first step, but the mirror paradox shows you why the illusion existed at all. Consciousness desired to see itself, and in doing so, it fractured into infinite reflections. You are one of them, a facet of the same crystal. To realize this is to stop seeking and start witnessing. The game of separation loses its grip. The one who is trapped behind the glass merges with the space that holds it. Awareness looks upon itself, not as subject and object, but as one continuous event of seeing. So stand before the mirror again, not as a seeker, but as the source. Let your gaze soften until you no longer see a face, but a field of light forming itself into you. Know that the reflection is temporary, but the awareness witnessing it is timeless. The mirror was never lying to you. It was teaching you. Every reflection was a lesson in recognition, guiding you home to the one truth that no image can contain. You were never meant to see your true face, because you are the light by which all faces are seen. Memory is a storyteller, not a recorder. It does not keep the past safe inside glass walls. It paints it anew each time you look back. Every recollection is an act of creation, a negotiation between what happened and what you now believe it meant. You think you remember, but what you hold is a reconstruction stitched together from fragments that have already changed. The mind edits the film of your life each time you replay it, adjusting lighting, trimming edges, rewriting dialogue so that the present you can make sense of what the past you could not. This is how identity sustains itself. The story of who you are depends on a fiction that keeps rewriting itself while pretending to be history. The illusion works because memory feels emotional. The more vivid the feeling, the more certain you are that it must be real. But emotion does not prove accuracy. It only proves attachment. When the body responds to an image in the mind, the brain registers it as present experience, not as recollection. The heart beats faster, muscles tense, eyes water. The body cannot tell the difference between memory and reality. And so the memory becomes real again for a moment. You live inside that echo as if it was still happening. This is why the past keeps haunting you, not because it exists, but because you keep breathing life into it. Every identity you carry is anchored in memory. You remember the face that loved you, the hand that hurt you, the words that defined you. But if those memories are fluid, what happens to the self that depends on them? The version of you that exists today is built from interpretations that tomorrow might replace. Memory does not hold truth, it holds coherence. It allows the mind to say, I am the same person I was yesterday. Without that illusion, the self begins to dissolve, revealing a continuity that does not depend on stories. That continuity is awareness, untouched by time, witnessing the constant rewriting of its own dream. Science now whispers what mystics have always known. The neurons that store memory do not freeze moments in amber. They refire, reconnect, reshape each time you recall them. Remembering is not replaying, it is rebuilding. Two people can live the same event and recall two entirely different worlds. Even you, recalling the same event years apart, are not revisiting it, but reinventing it through the lens of who you have become. This is why some memories fade and others grow stronger. They survive because they serve the current story of you. Imagine the self as a library where each book rewrites itself overnight. You walk in each morning, open a familiar page, and believe it is unchanged. But the words have rearranged themselves to align with the plot your mind needs today. You are both the reader and the author, trapped in an endless feedback loop of interpretation. It feels solid only because the rewriting happens in silence. Yet if you pause long enough, if you stop chasing the next page, you begin to see the ink running. The illusion of permanence begins to drip away. The freedom lies not in perfect memory, but in seeing its fiction. Once you recognize that the past is malleable, you stop letting it dictate your present. You understand that healing does not mean changing what happened, but changing the meaning you assign to it. Every painful event was never carved into stone, it was painted on water. The moment you stop holding it still, it flows back into the vastness of awareness. Forgiveness is not about others, it is about releasing the grip of a story that was never true to begin with. Each night you fall into sleep, the self built on memory dissolves completely. The body rests, the story pauses, consciousness slips into the formless. When you wake, the mind rebuilds the continuity, picking up threads from yesterday, assuming they belong to you. The strange part is that it does this so effortlessly that you never question the link between the one who slept and the one who wakes. The bridge is memory, fragile yet convincing. But if memory is fiction, who is the one waking each morning? The answer is awareness itself, returning to the dream, reanimating the character it created. Every thought about who you were is a photograph taken from a moving train. You call it evidence, but the landscape has already changed. The person who suffered in that scene does not exist anymore. The one remembering them is not the same. You are the continuity of presence, not the collection of moments. You are the space in which every version of you has appeared and disappeared. Once this is seen, memory becomes less of a prison and more of a painting, something to be admired but not mistaken for truth. The fiction of memory can also be a gift. If the past is fluid, so is redemption. You can rewrite the emotional texture of any moment by bringing awareness to it. The brain reshapes itself according to what you feel now, not what you once felt. When you revisit a memory with understanding instead of pain, the neural pattern changes, the field reorganizes. You are literally creating a new past, one that aligns with your current frequency. The quantum nature of consciousness allows the observer to alter what has been by changing the vibration through which it is seen. What you think of as trauma is a story that awareness keeps repeating because it has not yet seen its own illusion. The moment awareness sees clearly, the story loses energy and dissolves. It is not forgetting, it is integration. To integrate is to let the memory return to silence without needing to define you. The past stops chasing you when you stop identifying with the character who lived it. You were never that person. You were the presence that watched their life unfold. When you understand memory is fiction, the present moment becomes sacred. You no longer see time as a line, but as a canvas, constantly rewritten by perception. Every instant holds the potential to reshape the meaning of all that came before. You begin to live as awareness itself, fluid and timeless. The old narrative may still appear, but you see it as one of many stories consciousness tells for the sake of experience. Pause for a moment and feel this truth. Every image in your mind is a projection flickering against the screen of awareness. The scenes of childhood, love, loss, success, regret, all arise and fade within the same light. You are that light, the storyteller and the stage, the actor and the audience. Memory was never meant to imprison you, it was meant to teach you the art of perception. Once you see that, the past loses its weight and the present becomes infinite. The moment you begin to watch yourself, a split is born. Awareness divides into the watcher and the watched, the observer and the observed. You start to believe that clarity means standing apart from experience, analyzing it, mastering it from a distance. But the instant you identify as the one who watches, you create another layer of illusion. The observer seems wiser, calmer, more enlightened than the mind it observes, yet it is still part of the same dream. This is the observer's trap, the subtlest form of separation. It hides behind the language of awareness, but keeps you just far enough away from the direct experience of being. At first, the shift into the observer feels liberating. You step back from chaos and find perspective. Emotions appear like waves instead of storms, thoughts like clouds instead of commands. But as you settle into this position of watching, a quiet arrogance creeps in. You start to believe you are the one controlling awareness, the one choosing detachment. This belief is another mask of the ego disguised as spiritual clarity. The observer becomes a new identity, polished and silent, but still rooted in the same illusion of me. You have only moved from the center of the storm to the eye of it. The sky looks clearer, but you are still within the weather. True observation does not require a watcher. It happens naturally, effortlessly, like reflection on still water. Awareness does not look at life from outside of it. It is the seeing itself, inseparable from what it sees. The moment you claim the role of observer, you create distance. You begin to curate your own awakening, trying to maintain purity, calm, or presence as if they were achievements. You forget that awareness cannot be owned. It does not belong to the mind that tries to grasp it. The mind that says, "I am aware," is only a thought rising within awareness. Look closely at what happens when you observe your thoughts. One thought arises, another appears, claiming to be the observer of the first, and yet another watches both. The layers multiply endlessly, each pretending to be closer to truth. This infinite regress is how the ego hides inside awakening. It keeps building subtler versions of itself so that awakening never feels complete. You keep chasing the perfect point of observation, the state of flawless presence, unaware that the chase itself is the trap. Awareness does not chase, it does not divide, it has no position from which to look. It is the openness in which all positions appear. The idea that you can step back and observe is only useful until it isn't. It helps you detach from identification with thoughts, but then it must dissolve. If you stop there, you are caught between form and formlessness, neither fully in life nor beyond it. You become the monk in the marketplace who watches life but never enters it. To awaken completely, you must see that even the observer is being observed. The watcher is just another image passing through awareness. This realization can feel like falling. The mind panics when it realizes there is no solid ground to stand on. It wants to know who is watching, if not the observer. But awareness has no owner, no location, no witness behind it. It is pure seeing before the concept of seer arises. When you stop identifying with the observer, you do not vanish. You expand. The field becomes continuous. The birds singing, the breath rising, the body sitting, all occur within one seamless event of consciousness. The division collapses. There is no inside or outside, no subject or object, no you behind your eyes. This is the point where most seekers hesitate because the ego has nowhere left to hide. Without the observer, the mind cannot claim control. It loses the subtle sense of being the one who experiences. But that loss is freedom. The river does not observe itself flowing, it simply flows. Light does not watch itself shine, it simply illuminates. The wind does not listen to its own sound, it moves and the sound appears. You are that same effortless movement. When awareness merges with experience, perception becomes alive. You no longer stand outside the moment interpreting it. You are the moment unfolding. The body breathes, sounds move through air, thoughts arise and fade, all within the same boundless field. There is no one behind the process directing it. What remains is simplicity, directness, intimacy with existence. Life ceases to be something happening to you. It becomes what you are. The observer's trap is seductive because it offers control disguised as surrender. It feels safe to watch without participating, to stay neutral and untouched, but neutrality can become another wall. True awareness is not passive, it is vibrantly still. It does not withdraw from life, it permeates it. When the barrier of observation dissolves, every sensation becomes sacred. You feel the pulse of the universe in each breath. The ordinary becomes holy, because nothing is separate from the seeing. Letting go of the observer is not an act of force. You cannot dissolve it by trying. Effort itself keeps it alive. The only requirement is deep noticing. Notice that the observer arises like any other thought. Notice that the awareness perceiving it is already free. The observer vanishes on its own when you stop feeding it attention. What remains is openness without center. In that openness, there is no watcher left to claim progress, no student left to reach enlightenment. Only awareness remains, silent and luminous, seeing through all masks, including the one that called itself the observer. To live beyond the observer is to live as awareness itself. You move through the world without self-reference, like wind through grass. You speak, act, feel, but there is no thought of being the one doing it. This is not indifference. It is complete participation without ownership. When awareness flows freely through form, the smallest gesture carries the vibration of the infinite. A glance, a breath, a heartbeat becomes a transmission of truth. If you look deeply now, you may sense that everything around you is observing itself through you. The trees, the sky, the distant hum of life are not separate objects but expressions of one consciousness seeing from infinite points of view. You are not the witness of this moment, you are the moment watching itself. The illusion of a separate observer collapses into the vast simplicity of being. There is no longer someone seeing life. There is only life, self-aware and endlessly awake. The idea that you are one fixed being is the most persistent illusion of all. What you call yourself is not a solid identity, but a probability wave, a field of potential constantly collapsing into temporary forms. You exist not as a single point in time, but as a continuum of possible states, each responding to the frequency of awareness that observes it. At the quantum level, there is No stable particle, only vibration awaiting attention. Consciousness is that attention, and its focus determines which version of reality comes alive. You are not a person moving through a world. You are the world moving through an infinite array of possible selves, selecting one configuration after another to experience its own depth. The quantum self is not confined by history or prediction. It is fluid, dynamic, capable of simultaneous existence across probabilities. Every decision you think you make, every thought that passes through you, generates countless branches of possibility. Awareness flows through one branch at a time, giving the impression of linear life, but beneath that narrow stream is an entire ocean of versions of you existing in coherence. The one reading these words is one of them. The awareness behind the reading, however, is shared by all. This is why moments of intuition feel like memory from the future, and déjà vu feels like remembrance from another timeline. You are not remembering, you are resonating with another version of yourself, vibrating at the same frequency. The illusion of being oneself comes from the mind's need for continuity. The brain edits infinite versions of you into a single narrative, just as it edits billions of sensory inputs into a stable image of the world. It is an interpreter, not an origin. Its function is to reduce complexity into coherence. But the field you truly are cannot be contained by coherence. It moves beyond linear cause and effect, operating by resonance and collapse. When your awareness aligns with a new state of being, the entire external world reorganizes to match it. It is not that you change reality, it is that reality rearranges to express the new frequency you have become. In physics, a quantum particle exists in superposition until observed. The act of observation collapses it into one measurable state. You work the same way. The version of you that awakens in the morning is chosen by the vibration you sustain before sleep. Every belief you hold is a frequency that filters infinite potential into one visible outcome. Beliefs are not thoughts, they are energetic permissions. To believe is to tune the field to a specific channel of experience. Change the frequency, and the entire storyline updates. This is why inner transformation always precedes outer change. The world is not responding to your wishes, it is reflecting your coherence. You have glimpsed this before in moments of synchronicity, when life rearranged itself with impossible precision. A phone call came the moment you thought of someone. A door opened after months of waiting. These are not coincidences, they are resonances between timelines. The quantum self moves effortlessly when coherence is complete, when thought, emotion, and energy vibrate as one signal. Incoherence feels like resistance, like life pushing back. It is not the universe denying you, it is your own frequency broadcasting two different messages at once. Every time you doubt, you split your wave, creating interference within the field. Every time you trust, the wave collapses into clarity. The key is not control, but alignment. You cannot force the field into form. You can only become the vibration that naturally manifests the form you desire. The quantum self does not chase, it radiates. It does not plan outcomes, it synchronizes with them. When you are coherent, reality responds instantly because there is no delay between signal and manifestation. The universe is not distant machinery. It is your own consciousness projected outward. The observer and the observed are the same field folding in on itself. Most people live unaware of this mechanism, trapped in the illusion of linear time. They see cause followed by effect, unaware that both arise together within the same now. To the quantum self, time is not a line but a landscape. Every possible future already exists, waiting for your awareness to tune into it. When you align your frequency with a future version of yourself, that version becomes the new present. You do not move through time, time moves through you. This is why imagination is not fantasy but technology. When you imagine vividly, You create energetic patterns that the field reads as instruction. The brain does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. Both trigger identical neurological and energetic responses. Imagination is the language of the quantum field, the bridge between the invisible and the visible. But for it to work, it must be coherent with feeling. Thought alone is static, but thought charged with emotion becomes waveform. The heart is the amplifier, the mind is the sculptor, and awareness is the light that brings form into existence. The quantum self is not personal, it belongs to no one. It is the universal field expressing individuality for the sake of exploration. Every you that has ever existed, every possible version still waiting to unfold, are all expressions of the same awareness taking different shapes to know itself. This is why judgment dissolves with awakening. You see that the villain and the saint are both aspects of the same experiment in consciousness. Every choice is the universe learning its own geometry. When you forgive another, you collapse separation and restore coherence across your shared field. What you call compassion is simply awareness, recognizing itself in another form. To live as the quantum self is to move through life as frequency rather than identity. You start to measure decisions not by right or wrong, but by resonance. Does it expand or contract your field? Does it create harmony or noise? When you follow resonance, life aligns with an intelligence greater than the mind's planning. Synchronicities multiply, opportunities unfold without effort, and even obstacles reveal their symmetry. What appears as chaos becomes choreography. Awakening to this does not make you untouchable or detached. It makes you deeply intimate with everything. You feel life not as something you manipulate, but as something you are. The sound of rain, the touch of wind, the pulse of another heartbeat are all your own field, vibrating in different textures. You stop searching for meaning because meaning radiates from every direction. You realize that existence itself is the miracle, endlessly observing and experiencing itself through infinite expressions of light and matter. Now pause and feel the subtle hum beneath your awareness. That pulse is not inside your body is inside it. It is the vibration of being itself, the quantum rhythm that animates all form. You are that rhythm. When you are still, it sings. When you move, it dances. The quantum self is not a higher version of you. It is the recognition that there was never a lower one. There is only consciousness, infinitely folding into experience, endlessly aware of its own reflection. To live from that knowing is not to transcend the world, but to illuminate it. You become a walking bridge between the invisible and the visible, a living equation of light, observing itself through time. The field is not silent. It has been speaking to you through every moment of your life, but its language is not made of words. It communicates through alignment, through synchronicity, through the subtle choreography of events that seem too precise to be coincidence. Every thought you think, every emotion you sustain sends a ripple through this invisible ocean of awareness. The field responds not to the noise of your desires, but to the clarity of your vibration. It reads coherence like light through crystal, bending reality to match the signal you emit. You have never been separate from this communication. You are part of the dialogue itself, a frequency within a vast and intelligent symphony of consciousness. When your mind is restless, the field whispers softly. It does not argue with your confusion, it mirrors it. The chaos you perceive outside is the echo of your internal static. Every obstacle, every delay, every silence is a reflection, not a punishment. The field speaks through feedback. It returns to you the frequency you broadcast until you recognize the pattern and adjust your signal. When you align, life begins to unfold with an elegance that feels divine. The right people appear, the right timing opens, the path ahead feels guided yet effortless. The universe has not changed. You have simply tuned into its rhythm. This is not philosophy. It is resonance in action. The field does not think in logic, it moves in geometry. It arranges energy according to harmony and coherence. When you hold thoughts of doubt and fear, the vibration becomes dissonant. When you rest in trust, the frequency stabilizes. That stability is what the field uses to build form. Matter crystallizes around coherence. You experience this as flow, as effortless manifestation, but it is simply physics of consciousness. The field is not judging you. It is obeying its own law of resonance. What you emit, you experience, not because of moral worth, but because energy must find equilibrium. Most people cannot hear the field because they are speaking too loudly in their minds. They are caught in the constant noise of expectation, fear, and analysis. The language of the field is silence. It vibrates beneath thought, within stillness. You begin to hear it when you stop trying to control the outcome. When the body relaxes, when the breath deepens, when awareness expands beyond personal agenda, the communication becomes clear. It arrives as intuition, as knowing without reasoning, as peace that does not depend on circumstance. The field does not shout, because truth does not need to compete with illusion. It waits for you to become still enough to listen. Sometimes it speaks through symbols, a pattern of numbers repeating across your day, a song that plays at the exact moment you needed to hear it, a chance encounter that opens a door you never knew existed. These are not accidents, they are alignments. The field arranges external events to reflect internal readiness. When something appears to arrive by chance, it is the universe marking a shift in your frequency. The field is not separate from you. It is you, extended beyond your skin, orchestrating life through precision that the rational mind cannot perceive. You may have noticed that when you are deeply present, everything feels connected. Colors appear more vivid, sounds more harmonious, time slows. This is when you and the field are in sync. Presence is the bridge between awareness and manifestation. The moment you drift into overthinking, the bridge collapses and reality becomes fragmented. Presence reopens the channel. It allows consciousness to move without distortion. This is why meditation, breathwork, or even a quiet walk can shift your entire experience. These are not mystical practices. They are recalibrations of frequency. The field is always broadcasting, but you must tune your awareness to its station. Every emotion you feel is data. Joy tells you are aligned. Anxiety tells you your signal is split. The field uses emotion as navigation. It is not about avoiding discomfort, but decoding it. Pain is the field asking for coherence. Resistance is the field showing where belief contradicts truth. When you stop fighting your emotions and begin listening to them as messages, they lose their weight. They become guides. The field speaks in feeling before it speaks in form. The body is its first receiver. The heart is its translator. Science now touches the edge of this mystery. In quantum theory, space is not empty but alive with potential. Particles emerge from fluctuations in the vacuum field, responding to observation. The same law applies to consciousness. Every thought observed with belief gains mass in your reality. Awareness collapses potential into form. The field does not distinguish between physical and mental. Both are expressions of vibration. You are not living inside a universe. The universe is living inside your awareness. The field speaks most clearly through coherence of heart and mind. When your thoughts and feelings are aligned, the signal becomes pure. The Heart Math Institute calls this state heart coherence. Ancient mystics called it harmony between heaven and earth. In this state, the electromagnetic field of your heart expands, synchronizing with the rhythms of the planet itself. You become a transmitter of stability. The environment around you begins to organize in response. People feel calmer in your presence. Synchronicities accelerate. The field speaks through you as much as to you. It is not that the field suddenly favors you, it is that you have stopped interfering with its flow. The more you surrender the need to control, the more precise the orchestration becomes. You move from forcing outcomes to allowing convergence. Life stops feeling like a puzzle to solve and starts feeling like a dance to remember. You realize that every experience, even the painful ones, was part of your tuning process. The field was never against you. It was guiding you back into resonance. When you begin to live in dialogue with the field, gratitude becomes natural. You no longer thank the universe only when things go your way. You thank it for every echo, every delay, every mirror, knowing that each one carries information about your frequency. Gratitude is not a reaction. It is a tuning mechanism. It amplifies coherence instantly. The field responds to gratitude like light responds to openness. It expands. Now take a breath and notice the subtle intelligence moving through this very moment. The field is here, listening. It hears your vibration more clearly than your words. Each heartbeat is a transmission, each thought a frequency, each breath an instruction to the universe. When awareness and energy merge, you become fluent in the language of creation. The field no longer feels like something outside guiding you. It feels like your own being speaking in the form of existence itself. The field speaks through silence, through synchronicity, through the soft hum of life that never stops surrounding you. Listen not with your mind, but with your entire presence. Every sound, every face, every movement of wind is part of the same conversation. The field is not trying to tell you what to do, it is reminding you what you are. There comes a point in awakening when the effort to awaken becomes the final illusion. You begin to sense that the one who seeks freedom is the very thing that prevents it. Every practice, every insight, every layer of understanding has led you to the edge of something vast and silent. You stand there expecting revelation, but what arrives instead is disappearance. The dissolution begins quietly, not as a collapse, but as a soft unbinding. The sense of being a separate center begins to fade, like fog evaporating under sunlight. You no longer feel like the observer watching life. You feel like the space in which life watches itself. At first, the mind resists. It cannot grasp the idea of its own irrelevance. It tries to hold on by naming, defining, analyzing. It says, I understand this. I am the one experiencing dissolution. But awareness sees even that thought and smiles. The more you look for the self that observes, the less you find. The search itself becomes transparent. What remains is pure seeing without seer, movement without mover, existence without explanation. The self that once claimed authorship of life begins to lose its meaning. You notice how thoughts appear and disappear without your permission. You see emotions rise and fall with the same rhythm as breath. Even the sense of being aware no longer feels personal. Awareness simply is. In this stage, many feel an emptiness that can be mistaken for loss. It is not loss, it is spaciousness returning. What dissolves is the tension of holding yourself separate from everything else. The boundaries between inner and outer, me and the world, slowly blur until they no longer make sense. You feel as if you have become transparent. The world moves through you instead of around you. The mind, once filled with noise, becomes still. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the recognition that all sound arises within it. You begin to live in that silence, not as something you enter and leave, but as what you are. The dissolution does not remove personality or memory, it removes identification with them. You still act, speak and feel, but the weight of ownership disappears. The old compulsion to defend opinions, to prove worth, to chase meaning dissolves like smoke. Life unfolds through you, yet there is no longer a sense of being the doer. Events arise and pass within the same infinite stillness. You see beauty even in pain because you no longer resist it. Resistance was the shadow of separation. and when the one resisting dissolves, everything becomes holy. This is the paradox of awakening. You do not gain clarity. Clarity gains you. You do not merge with the field. You realize you were never apart. Every spiritual practice was an echo of what has always been true. You were never walking toward wholeness, you were walking in circles within it. The dissolution reveals that every moment, every breath, every experience was already complete. The seeking was part of the design, a way for consciousness to remember itself through the illusion of forgetting. As the self fades, the heart opens wider. Compassion flows effortlessly, not because you try to love, but because there is nothing left to separate you from what you once called others. Love stops being a feeling and becomes recognition. You look at the world and see your own reflection everywhere. The trees breathe with you. The sky mirrors your stillness. Every face carries the same light shining through different shapes. You cannot harm, judge, or reject, because to do so would be to deny your own being. The dissolution does not erase individuality. It restores unity. In this transparency, time loosens its hold. The past and future feel like movements within one continuous present. The need to reach or escape dissolves. Even death loses meaning, for how can awareness die when it was never born? You realize that the body and the world are not containers of consciousness, they are expressions of it. The ocean of being keeps creating waves called life, watching them rise and fall with infinite tenderness. When a wave ends, nothing is lost. The water remains. The mind cannot follow you here. It keeps asking questions, trying to measure what cannot be measured. But awareness does not answer in words. It answers in presence. The dissolution is not something you complete. It is something that completes you. It is the end of effort, the end of becoming, the quiet recognition that being has been enough all along. From this silence, action continues, but it is effortless, spontaneous, aligned with the rhythm of the field. You may find that the world feels lighter, almost transparent. Problems lose their sharpness. Events unfold with precision but without urgency. Even in chaos, a quiet order reveals itself. You live not as a person managing reality, but as reality aware of itself. You see that everything is happening exactly as it must, not because of fate, but because of coherence. The field no longer speaks in signs and synchronicities, it breathes through you. Now what remains is simplicity. The dissolution is not a dramatic ending, it is a return. The return to what has never changed, the awareness that has been watching since before the beginning. You are not awakening into something new. You are remembering what cannot be forgotten. The light you search for was the one reading these words. It was never hidden, only overlooked. When the self dissolves completely, what is left is peace so natural that it feels invisible. It has no center, no edge, no story. It is not experienced. It is existence itself. This is the quiet truth. There was never a separate you to dissolve. There was only awareness pretending to be many, dreaming itself into form and now remembering its own infinity. The dissolution is not the end of the story. It is the moment you realize there was never a story at all, only the eternal stillness in which all stories rise and fade without beginning or end.